Now, question hour, please. Question hour. No. और क्या point? Question hour, sir.
Question 261.
The answer is laid in the form of a statement on the floor of the House.
Supplementary,
No
please.
supplementary. Sir, kindly excuse my voice, it's gone. So, this project was announced with a lot of fanfare in this House 6.5 years ago during the railway budget of 2008-9. Lot of work was done by the East Coast Railways during 2008 and 2009 preliminary work, which is actually in the nature of pre-feasibility surveys. In spite of it, the reason for not finalizing it for 6.5 long years, when it has been shelved, my understanding is, was going on, railways were going on shelving it, the government went on shelving it. Again, media pressure and political pressure, it was getting revived. Then it was getting shelved. This was not in the public domain, but it was going on. May I ask, why is it that the railways, various exact reasons why railways were shelving this project for the last 6.5 years?
Thank you.
What the honorable member has said is almost correct. What he has said is absolutely right. That the first time this project was announced was in 2009. It was discussion. Subsequent to that, there was an MOU which was signed between Chinese and the Indian authority. That was first. I'm telling about the first situation. I'm just giving you the history. Subsequently, there was no action virtually, though there was an MOU. The Chinese probably were insisting on doing it through a nomination basis, which was probably not possible. Recently, there has been a new development which I would like to share with you. This is on the 18th of September. A new MOU has been signed between the Chinese and the Government of India during the visit of the Honorable President of China and our Honorable Prime Minister's summit meeting. This was decided that we should try to take it. And now the Chinese and the Indian Railway Station Development Corporation are working on it. I think there has been a lot of now progress has been made, but I fully agree with you. There has been an inordinate delay. There has been a hype which was created, which was not matched by the action. So I really agree with you. I would definitely try to look into it to make sure that at least this MOU is operationalized and concrete action taken.
Second supplementary.
While thanking the Prime Minister for his interest in the matter, and that ultimately we are coming to the starting point, that is pre-feasibility, by again, as if our railways are not good enough. At their cost, the Chinese Railway Construction Corporation will take up the work, pre-feasibility work.
Question.
And in that context, to avoid further delay, will the minister kindly tell us, between pre-feasibility, a concept note, draft project report, actual work to be carried out, modalities, and whether it will be PPP, it will be SPV, or any other particular channel. How is the thinking? What is the time schedule that you envisage in the matter?
Sir, in fact, this is a much larger issue, and I will try to answer it afterward. But let me just precisely answer what you're asking me. So there have been 6 stations which have been developed by the Railway Station Development Corporation. There are a lot of stages involved in that. The stages are obviously, first you submit inception and pre-feasibility report, then you appoint an architect, technical consultants, appoint a financial and legal consultant. Subsequently, you need the in principle approval of the local authorities. Then you invite request for qualification, then shortlisting of bidders, and then request for technical proposals, shortlisting of bidders, and stuff like that. Then finally you will award it, and then it will start, and hopefully will be completed. So I think this has taken such a long time. So I am of the view, and this is the normal process they are following for 6 stations, not the Bhubaneswar one. Now the Bhubaneswar one is completely a different category because this is developed by the Chinese in collaboration with the Station Development Authority. So I personally feel, and this is what I will come back to the Parliament very soon, that at this rate, I don't think we'll be able to develop many stations. So I think we really need to revisit this issue in the entirety. So what we are proposing is, why not pull all the stations that we have in India for redevelopment without going through this elaborate process that which I mentioned. First you appoint consultants. So rather than that, if you put it in public domain, put it on website and say all the stations of India, small, big, A size, A plus, B, all categories could be developed by any, I'm just saying, could be developed in a way that what we really want out of it should be very well specified. And what we want an outcome from the development of station, it should be something like this, that we want a proper adequate waiting room facilities for ladies dormitories. We must have segregation of arrival and departure, all essential facilities at enclosure like catering, unifying integration at both sides of the city, integration with public transport at access station. Some outcomes should be properly specified. We put it on website, invite bids that anybody would like to develop a station, please tell us if you can fulfill all these obligations towards the railways, what is that you want from the railway. All of that then could be hands-off basis, could be properly scrutinized by technical authority, one side, parallelly by the financial consultant, and then again, the shortlisted bids could be again put in public domain through a website. So the whole exercise will be completely transparent, and probably then only we will be able to complete large number of stations in a shortest possible time. And unfortunately, as you have seen, let's go by the experience. Sir, we have been doing this for last several years. We have declared it first in 2006, 2007, then it came in 2009, 2010, 2010-11, and there was all will good intention. I'm not even trying to fault intention of any of the predecessors who were trying. They were also trying to with good intention. But we must learn the right lesson. We must unlearn the lessons as well and try to frame a policy which could bring in a transformation in terms of our station development. So this is what I propose. I'll come back to the Parliament because we have to yet to be approved by the Cabinet. We'll come to the Parliament at a time when this could be done in a way that is completely transparent and also could be put, as the Prime Minister has been saying, speed and scale at the same time.
Thank you, Shri Bhupinder Singh.
चेयरमैन सर, मैं आपके माध्यम से मंत्री जी से जानना चाहता हूं, देख रहे हैं कि ये वेरी स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन है। भुवनेश्वर को वर्ल्ड क्लास करने के लिए 6.5 साल पहले यहां प्रतिश्रुति दी गई थी। चेयरमैन सर, क्या ये गलत है जो लोग बोल रहे हैं, हम नहीं बोल रहे हैं, कि उड़ीसा को और ईस्टर्न इंडिया को रेलवे मैप में उड़ीसा को बहुत ही नेग्लेक्ट किया जा रहा है, स्पेसिफिकली वर्ल्ड क्लास इंडिया में।
Please ask supplementary question.
वर्ल्ड क्लास, यही सर, वर्ल्ड क्लास भुवनेश्वर का आप कब शुरू करना चाहते हैं? ये स्टेट कैपिटल है, चंडीगढ़ के साथ प्लान हुआ था और वहां नवा कलेवर होने को जा रहा है, चौथा धाम है अब इंडिया का, जगन्नाथ जी का। और इसीलिए हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि मंत्री जी स्पेसिफिक कहें कि 2015 से पहले ये जरूर शुरू किया जाएगा। यही आपसे हम एक उम्मीद करते हैं।
थैंक यू।
स्पेसिफिक।
सर, मैं आपको वही कह रहा था कि सिर्फ पूर्व भारत तक ये सीमित नहीं है, पूरे देश की स्टेशन को डेवलपमेंट करने की जरूरत है। उसमें भुवनेश्वर एक बहुत ही अहम स्टेशन है, उसके लिए उसको तो करना ही चाहिए। हमारी पार्लियामेंट को दी गई एक आश्वासन, इसके लिए करना ही चाहिए। लेकिन अभी जो काम चल रहा है उसके बारे में बता रहा था कि 5 स्टेशन, आनंद विहार दिल्ली, बिजवासन दिल्ली, चंडीगढ़, हबीबगंज भोपाल, शिवाजी नगर पुणे, और उसमें अभी 2 ऐड करेंगे, सूरत और गांधीनगर। ये स्टेशन के लिए स्टेशन डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी काम कर रही है। भुवनेश्वर के लिए, जैसे मैंने कहा, भुवनेश्वर के लिए मैंने बताया, पहले आपने सुना नहीं, मैंने वही कहा, भुवनेश्वर के लिए
क्या 2015 में
भुवनेश्वर के लिए MOU सितंबर 2014 में साइन किया गया है। जो कुछ काम नहीं हुआ था, इसी के लिए वजह से अभी आई होपफुली विल ट्राई टू पुट सम प्रेशर, ट्राई टू मेक इट। I cannot give the timeline just now because not a substantial work has yet been carried out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would request other questioners to please focus on the wording of the question. Shri Vijay Goyal.
दिल्ली और पुरानी दिल्ली
ना,
स्टेशन।
सवाल भुवनेश्वर पे है। Please ask on this question.
सर सवाल मेरा वर्ल्ड क्लास और इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड के स्टेशंस के ऊपर है जाके।
गोयल जी, please. This question is on भुवनेश्वर। आपका सवाल भुवनेश्वर पे?
क्योंकि माननीय चेयरमैन साहब ने
नहीं, नरेश जी, is it on भुवनेश्वर?
मैंने बहुत सीमित आपने हमको किया है भुवनेश्वर पे।
हाँ।
और मैं बहुत सीमित वैसे भी हूँ,
हाँ।
सीमाओं में रहना जानता हूँ। मंत्री जी ने चूंकि अपने उत्तर में भुवनेश्वर के अलावा कई और स्टेशनों का नाम लिया, श्रीमन उत्तर संदर्भित है, उन्होंने गांधीनगर, 2 उन्होंने गुजरात के लिए, शिवाजी नगर नहीं, श्रीमन जब मंत्री उत्तर दे दे
नहीं,
तो उत्तर की सीमाओं तक मुझको रखेंगे।
नहीं,
मैं सिर्फ आपके माध्यम से जानना चाहता हूँ, माननीय मंत्री जी, भुवनेश्वर को लेने के वक्त आपने कौन से ऐसे मानक देखे थे कि वो मानक के अंतर्गत भुवनेश्वर विश्व क्लास में लिया जा सकता था? क्या देश के और स्टेशन उन मानकों में नहीं आते? अगर और भी स्टेशन भुवनेश्वर वाले मानक में आते हैं तो वो कितने हैं और उन सबको लेकर कब तक विश्व स्तर का आप बनाएंगे? मैं आपको
नरेश जी, 1 minute. It is. I know that. I admire the manner in which you have twisted it, but this is not. This is a speculative question. The question was specific on.
बचाने की बात कर रहा है।
मैं नहीं बचा रहा हूँ, किसी को नहीं बचा रहा हूँ।
ये पीठ का काम हमको बचाने का है, सरकार को बचाने का नहीं। नहीं, ये श्रीमन इस पीठ से यही आशा करते हैं कि हम ऐसे कमजोर लोगों को पीठ बचाएगी, हमारी रक्षा करेगी, हमारे अधिकारों को
Please don't. We have precious time. Let me ask Mr. Singhdeo. Yes, on this specific question.
Sir, the Honorable Minister has said himself. He said, "I would like to say good intentions is not good enough." As Bhupinder Singh ji has said, we're having Navclever coming up next year. This project needs to start immediately. Sir, I want to ask the Honorable Minister a specific question: whether the state government has been consulted while you are planning this particular world-class railway station. Has their views been taken? Because we have specific problems in Odisha as far as Bhubaneswar is concerned because of Navclever and because of 50-80 lakhs of people coming in. Have you consulted the state government and what are the views they have given? And what further consultations or concessions do you need from the Odisha government? You could take it up with them also, sir.
Sir, last week I met the Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha, Mr. Naveen Patnaik, also raised the issue. And in fact, we want to do it as a collaborative effort. As he rightly says, state government has to be fully on board, including taking the ideas as to how we should develop it. But this particular one, which is an MOU between the Chinese company and the Indian Railway Station Development Corporation, so Odisha government will also be taken on board. In fact, we would like to work with Odisha. I don't want to expand the answer the question, but Odisha will be fully on board. And the Chief Minister agreed to work with us.
Thank you very much. Question 262. No, please. That's enough.
Question 262,
sir.
Have they acquired the land?
Please, question 262.
Sir, question 262.
Yes, please. Thank you. Let the answer be given. 1 minute.
Sir, the answer is, statement is laid on the table of the House.
Yes, supplementary, please.
Sir, I had asked the Honorable Minister a very specific question. The number of train accidents that has happened and the loss of life and injuries. The Minister has given a statement and that shows the accident that has happened in the railway except unmanned station, unmanned level crossing. So the answer is very incomplete because the unmanned level crossing accident is not taken into account. And secondly, sir, I would like to specifically want to know from the Honorable Minister, the number of accidents that has happened in East Coast and the number of life lost.
One question, please. Ask one question.
So I am asking my question, sir. I'm asking a very specific question, sir, that the number of accidents that has happened in East Coast Division.
All right.
And the number of casualties and injuries.
Thank you.
Sir, you want, actually, if you read the body of the answer, it has already been mentioned in the statement, the number of accidents. But sir, if you permit me, I can give you a very exhaustive list, or you can say, no, I know. If you want, I can share it with you personally, because I don't want to take so much of the time of the house. But, you know, the answer has already been provided. And if you go through point B of the statement, the part B of the statement, it is very well decided. If you want any specific information about a particular state or a particular kind of accident, the list is here, I can share with you personally.
Thank you. Second question.
Sir, I had asked first question is not answered, sir. The first question is about East Coast Division.
He has answered the question. Please ask your second question.
Sir, as all of us are aware that railway announces compensation for the dead and the injured. So I would like to know from the Honorable Minister, what is the norm that is laid for the compensation for the injuries and for the dead? And because there are a lot of times when different compensation package is announced. So I would like, what is the norm and what is accepted proposal for railway to give the compensation?
See, these are very laid down norms. How much is the compensation that is paid when there is a casualty? How much is the compensation when there is a partial injury or there is a substantial injury? These are the norms laid down for a long time. If you want, again, this was not the question you asked me about the type of compensation. But if you want to share that with you, I don't mind giving it to you the answer. But this is not something, you are asking about the number of accidents which are given. If you want about a compensation and the type, what basis the compensation is shared, I can share with you.
Shri Derek O'Brien.
Sir, on the issue of safety, the railways, I'm not getting into the big reasons for electrical fires or unmanned crossings or the Bombay wall which hasn't been constructed, Mumbai wall. So my basic question is, the railways over the last few years have been testing out and piloting two main safety device systems. One is the TPWS, which is the train protection and warning system, and the other is the train collision avoidance system. So these two systems have already been piloted in one or two railways. My question to the railway minister is, one, when does he expect to take a call to finalize one of these systems once and for all, which, considering the pilots have already been done of the 2-3 alternative systems available around the world? Which system and what is the timeline, sir?
Thank you.
Sir, there are a large number of systems, as you said, are used in experimental basis in different forms of railways. In fact, the Railway Research and Development Organization that is also working on that. Some of these are in trial, and in fact, this idea would be to implement it in as many railways as possible. Sir, if you just permit me, sir, one issue was similar to this, was also considered by Dr. Anil Kakodkar committee, which was appointed a few years ago. And they also mentioned about this. So some of these ideas which are incorporated in the committee, some of these experiments which have been tried and which are the new ideas have been generated from these organizations which are in trial at various places, all needs to be integrated. It needs a huge amount of capital infusion. So that is something also which has to be considered. But that again is not to be compromised at the cost of safety. So we have to make sure that we invest this money. I have to find out the money. Hopefully at the time of budget, we'll be able to find answer to the trade-off between the investment and also the safety of the passengers, which has to be ensured.
Shri Achyutan.
The reason for the railway accident is because of the human factor. So my question is, how many posts in the railway is vacant? Posts connected with the safety of the railway are vacant now. And what is the time frame to fill up the vacancies which are connected with basic safety measures of the railway?
So this filling of post is again something which attrition, designation, retirement is always happens. But on safety per se, unfortunately, there is not a single position at a board level. So there is no, that is another recommendation of the Anil Kakodkar committee, that we should have somebody like a person who should be really be mandated, a new post of member safety and research should be created. But there is no such position today. At zone level as well as division level, there are positions. So there are obviously, some of them could be vacant, but they are getting vacated. In fact, we have taken a drive fill up large number of positions on a massive scale, because there have been some positions at the board level lying vacant for some time now. So we are really working on it on a very expeditious basis to make sure that the positions are filled very soon.
Shri Motilal Vora, thank you. This is not your question. This is not your question.
का लगाव हमें बहुत है, लेकिन किसी दबाव में हमारे अधिकारों को उपेक्षा हो रही है, इससे हमारे मैं जा रहा हूँ
Sir,
please, this is not your question.
He has taken only 1 minute for the question.
Yes.
We want a specific answer. Actually, from the reply in this house, 1.5 lakhs posts are vacant in safety.
Mr. Rajiv, you can't seek clarification on behalf of another member. Has the member, what is your question then?
In Indian Railway is vacant, which is connected with the safety measures. He says that, the Honorable Minister says that in the board level there is no vacancy. How many workers? How many employees?
It's a factual question. The data can be given now or later.
How many are you employed?
No. That's all right. Please, yes.
Sir, the number of vacancies at a various zonal level, at the local level, which includes even the track maintenance, everything, are 1.2 lakh vacancies at the
All right, fine. Thank you now.
माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि अप्रैल 2014 से लेकर नवंबर 2014 तक 98 व्यक्तियों की मृत्यु हुई और 290 व्यक्ति घायल हुए। बिना संपर्क के जहाँ चौकीदार नहीं है उसका कहीं पर इसमें उल्लेख नहीं है। मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि आपने कहा कि बहुत से कदम आपने उठाए हैं, लेकिन आपने इस बात को स्वीकार किया है कि 2014 तक की पिछले वर्ष की तुलना में दुर्घटनाएं 48 से बढ़कर 63 हुई। क्या माननीय मंत्री जी इस बात को बताने की कोशिश करेंगे कि इतने उपाय करने के बाद भी इतनी दुर्घटनाएं क्यों बढ़ गई? और दूसरा,
एक सवाल पूछा,
98 व्यक्ति मरे हैं और 290 व्यक्ति घायल हुए, उनको कंपनसेशन देने के बारे में सरकार ने क्या नीति अपनाई? क्योंकि माननीय सभापति महोदय, एक्सीडेंट होते हैं, जो लोग मर जाते हैं उनके परिवार के लोग मारे भटकते फिरते रेलवे क्लेम को लेने के लिए। मैं जानना चाहूँगा कि माननीय मंत्री जी, इन 98 लोगों में से और 290 लोगों में कितने लोगों को आपने अभी तक उनके क्लेम को स्वीकार किया?
सही है कि इस साल में नवंबर तक जो अब हादसे हुए उसकी संख्या 48 से 63 तक हो गई। ये बिल्कुल सही है और ये बढ़ गई और ये उसके ज़्यादा कारण है वो डिरेलमेंट है। और डिरेलमेंट के क्या कारण है उसके लिए भी एक बहुत अलग अलग रीज़न है। जो हर एक्सीडेंट के लिए, हर हादसे के लिए जो इंक्वायरी की गई उसके आधार पर एक मैंने रिपोर्ट भी मंगवाया था, रिपोर्ट भी रेडी है। लेकिन ये बिल्कुल सही है कि पिछले 6 महीने में कुछ हादसों की संख्या बढ़ गई है और इसीलिए मैं समझता हूँ सेफ्टी एक, अभी मुझे नहीं लगता हमारे देश के सामने कोई पर्याय है कि हम सेफ्टी को ऐसे देख सकेंगे जिसमें ये भी इंक्लूड है कि वैकेंसी भरनी चाहिए, साथ साथ में हमको निवेश भी करना चाहिए और इसके लिए कॉस्ट कहाँ से आएगी उसके लिए भी सोचना चाहिए। तो यदि हम लोग सब एग्री करते हैं तो मुझे लगता है एक लॉन्ग टर्म मेजर लेके अगले 3 साल में हम सेफ्टी को नंबर 1 प्रायोरिटी करके कस्टमर सर्विस के साथ साथ यदि हम उसमें निवेश करेंगे तो मुझे पूरा विश्वास है, कम से कम अभी तो इमीडिएट उसको रिजल्ट मिलेंगे, टाइम लगेगा, लेकिन 3 साल में मुझे पूरा विश्वास है यदि हम इस पे निवेश करके मीडियम टर्म प्लान बना लेते हैं तो जरूर इसमें हमें राहत मिलेगी।
थैंक यू। क्वेश्चन 263।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 263।
कितने लोगों को क्लेम दिया गया, कितनी राशि दी गई, उसका कहीं जवाब ही नहीं। जो लोग मर चुके हैं उनके मामले, क्लेम्स के मामले अभी भी वर्षों से लंबित है। मैंने स्पष्ट रूप से आपसे पूछा था कि 98 लोग मर गए, उन परिवारों को क्या आपने कंपनसेशन दिया है?
इमीडिएटली, वो तो मैंने पहले
नहीं,
बताया,
आपने बताया ही नहीं।
जितने
और कितनी धनराशि दी है,
जितने भी जहां भी कहाँ भी डेथ्स हुए हैं, जहां पे लोगों की मौत हुई है या उनके इंजरी हुए है, उसको रेल के मुताबिक जो भी बनता है उसके उनको दे दिए गए। अभी कोई स्पेसिफिक आपके पास केस होगा, नहीं मिला होगा तो जरूर बताइए, उसके ऊपर भी हम एक्शन की कोशिश करेंगे।
Right, Mr. Ramalingam.
Sir, in the minister's answer,
Has the question been answered? Let be answered first.
Yes, sir, I said it will be laid on the table.
Right, thank you.
thank you, sir. Sir, in the minister's answer, the part A, the item number 6, Indian Railways have decided to cancel some 27 pairs of train service between 31/12/2014 to 15/2/2015. It is an alarming, sir. Due to fog, cancelling the train is not advisable. Fog is a big problem, I also know. But the train operation has to be run, sir. Particularly for the long trains, example trains coming from South India, Tamil Nadu Express, GT Express, Chennai Rajdhani, Kerala Express, Mangala Lakshadweep Express, Andhra Pradesh Express, Dachan Express, Nizamuddin, Secunderabad Express, all these trains are never reach Delhi in time, sir. What is the steps you are taken to curtail the delay, sir?
Sir, this is a regular yearly seasonal problem. The fog comes year after year and this happens. So now the only way we can tackle it is sometimes, because if the driver is not able to see the signal. So what is the problem with the fog is, of course, the driver has the right of way. The railway has the right of way, unlike some of the roads where you have to stop because the other car also has the right of way. Railway actually has the right of way only on one way. So therefore, normally the signaling is the only way he can exercise that right properly. At a time of fog, he is not able to see the signal. And if he cannot see the signal, he jumps the signal, there could be an accident. So the only way we can do this is by way of some technological device, which is actually there are two types of one, which is cab signaling and fog safe, which is a GPS device. So those devices are being installed in some small numbers. But if you really need to increase the number of it, again, is the issue. So what normally is done is that the driver is advised to slow the speed, make sure that there is whenever he approaches the signal, he should be able to see the signal. Sometimes he cannot see the signal at all. So therefore, manually, a person called fog detector is kept there. He detonates something, whereby now the driver knows that he is hearing the signal. That's the only thing is done. Because of all this, the speed slows down. The speed slows down, the trains get delayed. But this is far better than drivers allowed to drive at their normal speed and meeting with an accident.
Thank you. Second question.
But you are not answered about that cancellation of the 27 trains, sir. Sir, 27 trains, sir. Sir, due to fog, accidents are also very common. Sometimes the hill area, trains hit the elephants and tigers and deers due to fog. I would like to know from the minister what steps are proposed to reduce the number of accidents. When will be settled all the compensation claims pending in the tribunals?
I think that's right.
When will be settled all the compensation pending in the tribunal now? Compensation due to accident, fog accidents and all, sir.
Does this relate to the question?
It all depends upon, there are obviously, most of this goes to the tribunal. But if your suggestion is that we should get everything in the tribunal.
There's a lot of time in the tribunal. There is a 3 years, 4 years delay.
I know. But normally,
Mr. Ramalingam.
But this is normally there are spot compensation which are paid. Over a period of time, this has to be, of course, goes to the tribunal. And then tribunal sets it. If it is higher than that, the railways are supposed to pay higher. But this is a system which is normally followed in the spot, as well as subsequently, the tribunal has a right to overrule it and give higher award.
श्रीमती विप्लव ठाकुर।
तो अध्यक्ष जी, मैं मंत्री जी से ये जानना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि मंत्री जी ने कहा है कि हमने फॉग सेफ डिवाइसेस जो है 1381 लगाई हैं और वो भी ट्रायल बेसिस पे है। तो मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ, क्या इन्होंने एरियाज को आइडेंटिफाई किया है कि कहाँ कहाँ रेलवेज में फॉग डिवाइसेस चाहिए और कितनी चाहिए? क्योंकि नॉर्थ इंडिया सारा ही फॉग से हो जाता है। हमारा हिमाचल का जो जलंधर, पठानकोट, ये चंडीगढ़ वगैरह सब फॉग एरिया आता है, जिसमें ट्रेन का चलना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है। इसलिए मैं जानना चाहती हूँ कि आपने कितने आइडेंटिफाई किए और कितने आपको और चाहिए इनसे, और कब तक लगेंगे, और जो आपने ट्रायल किया है वो कितना सक्सेसफुल हुआ, क्या उसमें इंप्रूवमेंट की जरूरत है, कब तक ये होगा? क्योंकि ये बहुत बड़ी बात है, ट्रेन्स का लेट होना, ट्रेन्स का ना आना, कैंसिलेशन इज नो solution for this. So I would like to know from the minister.
Madam, sir, these devices have been fixed at 1381 जगह पर इस तरह के डिवाइसेस लगाए गए हैं। इसमें उत्तरी प्रदेश भी है, पूर्वांचल भी है, नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न रेलवे भी है और सब जगह में है। और ये नॉर्दर्न रेलवे में तो ट्रायल बेसिस पे ज्यादा, जहां की बात करें उसमें तो लगाया ही गया है, लेकिन वो ट्रायल बेसिस पे 100% सभी जगह पे नहीं लगाया गया कि उसके भी क्या रिजल्ट आएंगे, नतीजे आएंगे, वो भी देखने की आवश्यकता है। लेकिन आपने जो बात कही नॉर्दर्न एरिया में लगाए गए।
थैंक यू।
तो कितने चाहिए डिवाइसेस लगाने के लिए?
वो कितने चाहिए मैं वही बता रहा हूँ, सभी जगह में लगाने हैं तो उसकी संख्या और होगी। अभी कितने लगाए मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ। 1381 have been installed.
Thank you. Question 264. Thank you. प्रश्न पूछिए।
Sir, I would like to know from Honorable Minister, the Department of Agriculture and Cooperation in 2013 had commissioned an independent study for undertaking impact evaluation and socio-economic study of BT cotton in July 2013. Which institution has been appointed to conduct this study? Has the study been started yet? If yes, when is it expected to complete it? If not, why has it not been started?
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, जो माननीय सदस्य जी ने कॉटन के लिए अध्ययन के लिए जो बात किया है, माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, जो बीटी कपास अभी सारा भारत में बहुत हो रहा है, उसका अध्ययन के लिए जो कृषि में कैसे ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन आएगा, कैसे कम खर्चा होगा, इसलिए कृषि विभाग ने पूरा अध्ययन कर लिया है। और कॉटन में ज्यादा प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है और खर्चा भी कम हो रहा है।
सर, मेरे सवाल का जवाब नहीं मिला। मैंने ये पूछा ऑनरेबल माननीय मंत्री जी से कि इसका कोई स्टडी, इसका कोई अध्ययन कराया गया है क्या? 2013 में इसके बारे में एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्ट्री के द्वारा एक कुछ कमीशन अपॉइंट किया गया था, जिसमें कि स्वतंत्र रूप से इसका अध्ययन करने का माना गया था, लेकिन उसके ऊपर में कोई अध्ययन किया गया है और उसका क्या रिजल्ट है, मैंने वो आपसे पूछा। और किसने किया, ये अध्ययन किसने किया?
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, वो मेरे पास विगत नहीं, आपको मैं दिला देता हूँ।
थैंक यू।
सर,
सेकंड क्वेश्चन प्लीज।
सर, my second question is whether the cultivation of BT cotton has a higher cost of inputs, because as GM seeds are more expensive and requires more water than traditional varieties of cotton, whether the government planning to fix different minimum support prices for these two varieties of cotton cultivated to mitigate the risk incurred by farmers, if not, why?
माने अध्यक्ष महोदय, जो बीटी कपास जब से आया हुआ, जो 2001-2 में जो बीटी कपास आया, तब कॉटन का प्रोडक्शन पूरा भारत में 99.97 बेल का था। बाद में जब कॉटन का 2013-14 में वो बढ़कर 366.70 लाख बेल हो गया है। अरे कॉटन का जो पूरा भारत में, मैं एक मिनट देता हूँ, एक मिनट।
1 मिनट
समझिए।
2013 में एक कमेटी बनाई गई है कि मूल्य निर्धारण के लिए, आप सुनो, आपका प्रश्न यही था, न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य, मैं उसी पर बोल रहा हूँ। 2013 में एक कमेटी बनाई गई कि मूल्य निर्धारण के जो तरीके हैं आज, उसमें बहुत सारी विसंगतियां हैं, इसको कैसे दूर की जाए और क्या स्वरूप हो उसका, और उसकी 4 बैठकें हो चुकी है, अभी रिपोर्ट नहीं आई है, रिपोर्ट आने के बाद उस पर कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
थैंक यू। श्री किरण मोहन नंदा, आप दो पूछ चुके 2 सवाल, देखिए प्लीज।
सर,
किसी कमेटी का कोई टाइम लिमिट नहीं होता है, आप अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। Please sit down. Please sit down.
Sir, I ask one supplementary to you. Is it a fact BT crop will be bad effect in future production?
होने वाला नहीं है, खराब असर कुछ होने वाला है ही नहीं,
होने वाला नहीं है।
नहीं।
श्री आनंद शर्मा।
सर, मंत्री महोदय ने अपने उत्तर के भाग ग में सरकार द्वारा कृषि लागत एवं मूल्य आयोग CACP की सिफारिशों और न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य की बात करी है। माननीय सभापति महोदय, आपके माध्यम से मैं मंत्री जी से ये जानना चाहता हूं कि कपास की कीमत बुरी तरह से देश में टूट गई है। पूरे देश के अंदर महाराष्ट्र से लेकर आंध्रा तक, विशेषकर आंध्रा, गुजरात, पंजाब, हरियाणा, सैकड़ों किसानों ने आत्महत्या पिछले 3 सप्ताह में करी है। जो न्यूनतम मूल्य था, समर्थन मूल्य, वो 3400 रुपया पहले था, जो छोटे स्टेपल का कपास होता है, और 3700 रुपया था बड़े स्टेपल के, लॉन्ग स्टेपल कपास का। पिछले साल वो बढ़ा के 3400 से 3700 किया गया और अब लॉन्ग स्टेपल का 4000 किया गया। अभी इतने बड़े घटनाक्रम के बाद जो किसान के त्रस्त हैं इस वक्त, केवल 50 रुपया बढ़ाया गया इस साल। क्या आप इस हालात को देखते हुए, जो कीमत आधी रह गई, निर्यात, दूसरी बात है निर्यात बंद हो गया, चीन ने अपनी नीति बदल ली, चीन के पास कपास का भंडार था, हमारा 80% एक्सपोर्ट वहां जाता था, चीन ने अब दुनिया के बाजार में अपना कपास ले आया, तो दुनिया के बाजार में भी कीमत टूट गई, अपने देश का बाजार टूट गया। तो क्या कॉटन कॉरपोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया से आप सही मूल्य पर किसान का कपास लेकर उसको रखेंगे? और दूसरा, कपास की समस्या को देखते हुए आप किसान जो हैं इस वक्त दबे हुए कर्जे से आत्महत्या ना करें, इसको मद्देनजर रखते हुए क्या उनका कर्जा माफ करने की कोई सरकार सोच करेगी?
कल इस पर हमने विस्तार से चर्चा की थी और माननीय सदस्य उस समय नहीं थे। मैंने बताया था कि इस देश के अंदर जिस भी इलाके में जो समर्थन मूल्य है उससे यदि नीचे भाव जाता है तो हम उसको समर्थन मूल्य देकर खरीदते हैं। और हमने कल ये भी बताया था कि पिछले वर्ष 92 क्रय केंद्र खोले गए थे, इस बार 341 खोले गए हैं। और लोकसभा के अंदर भी और राज्यसभा के अंदर भी सभी माननीय सदस्यों को ये भी कहा कि जहां भी आपके क्षेत्र में लगता है कि जरूरत है, आप खबर करिए, तुरंत वहां पर क्रय केंद्र खोला जाएगा। और एक भी किसान ऐसा हम नहीं चाहते हैं जिसको समर्थन मूल्य से कम पर बेचना पड़े। इसके लिए सरकार पूरी तैयार है कि हम समर्थन मूल्य उसको देंगे। आप बताइए कोई इलाका जहां नहीं खुला है, हम तुरंत खोलेंगे।
श्री शकंत शेखर रॉय, please.
Sir, while giving reply that BT cotton hybrids have been widely accepted by the farmers, this is a claim of the government. My question is whether the government has considered also the scientific studies made by London School of Medicine and Cambridge University's Political Science Department to the effect that cotton farmers of Vidarbha region in Maharashtra have been subjected to inexplicable miseries, sometimes leading to suicide, because of the introduction of the BT cotton hybrids and pesticides by companies like Monsanto.
देखिए, आत्महत्या पर भी कल हमने चर्चा की थी और आज हमको बताना चाहते हैं कि पूरे देश में 11,772 जो आत्महत्या हुई है 13 में, वो कृषि परिवार से जुड़े हुए लोगों ने किया। राज्य जो रिपोर्टिंग करता है उसके मुताबिक इस 11,772 में 511 कृषि कारणों से हत्या हुई है कुल हत्या 11,000, आत्महत्या 11,000 से ज़्यादा है और कृषि कारण उसमें 511 है। हत्या चाहे जिस भी कारण से हो, निश्चित रूप से वो दुखद है। और जो अध्ययन है संस्थानों की आपने बात की है, इंदिरा गांधी विकास अनुसंधान संस्थान मुंबई, सामाजिक विकास केंद्र राष्ट्रीय विकास संस्थान हैदराबाद, जसवंत राव चौहान विकास प्रशासन अकादमी पुणे, इन लोगों ने जो अध्ययन किया है, रिपोर्ट किया है, उसमें यही मात्र कारण नहीं है, सिर्फ ऋण भी एक कारण है, लेकिन फिर भी एक चिंताजनक स्थिति है और ऋण प्रवाह को हम और तेज कर रहे हैं। और पिछली सरकारों ने भी तेज किया था। पिछले वर्ष 7,000 करोड़ का था, तो इस बार हमने 8,000 करोड़ का किया है। यानी ऋण प्रवाह को तेज किया है। जो साहूकारों से जो ऋण लेते हैं वो भी इसमें बहुत बड़ा कारण बनता है, लेकिन संस्थागत ऋण उनको मुहैया हो, और सरकार ने समय समय पर ऋण प्रवाह को तेज किया है और इस बार भी सरकार ने काम किया।
Question 265.
Number 265.
Laid on the table of the House.
Sir, the Honorable Chairman, sir, the Minister has given a reply, and I think this reply is full of ambiguity and ambivalence. It's not clear whether they are going to implement it or they are going to implement it or they are not going to implement it. Because they have written that implementation of Uniform Civil Code is a duty of the state. Now there are lots of apprehensions after this answer. What exactly government is going to do, or is there any plan incognito to implement it? Please clarify it.
Chairman, sir, I have made it very clear. The matter is of utmost importance because Article 44 of the Constitution mandates that we should have a common civil code. Of course, since last several years, there were several deliberations, discussions, and debates across the country with regard to this particular common civil code. Sir, various judgments of the Supreme Court, right from Shaban case, Sharda Ahmed case, and even in 2003, the Vellumattam's case, all these observations made by the Supreme Court that there need to be a uniform common civil code. Unfortunately, because of various issues which could not be, we could not come to a common opinion. All things have taken. But however, I would like to assure the House, we have to move forward on Uniform Civil Code only with absolute clarity on various issues related to it. However, it is our duty to move forward as it is mandated by the makers of our Constitution. So, totally this is a debatable issue. Certainly, this government wants to have a more debate on this issue, and we should come with a common civil code, a uniform civil code across the country.
Minister has further confused us. He is saying it's very difficult to implement because there are lot many problems. Then he is saying it's our duty to implement it. What exactly is he saying? I am not able to figure out. He said lot many deliberations are going on. And in the answer he has written that the process of consultation with stakeholders would soon be is required. So when is he going to initiate the process of consultation with stakeholders? Doesn't he think that it will create a problem in the country? Because there are lot many apprehensions.
Chairman, sir, certain issues which needs to be deliberated. We are well aware of various factors that certainly by bringing this uniform civil code, it will enhance the status of the women and so-called lower caste as many as personal laws which are all biased against them. Many provisions are violations of human rights are also there. This has to be discussed.
To do it because it's being politically exploited by the government. In Kashmir, you are saying something else. No, in rest of the India, you are saying something else. Sir, I want to know what is the direct answer. Are you going to implement it or not going to implement it? This is what I want to know.
Sir, Chairman, sir, I made it very clear in my statement. it need to be implemented, but after wider consultation with stakeholders. That is, I made it very clear. You can see the reply.
This will be initiated.
Sir, we will initiate earliest because these issues, there are, you know, certain customary laws in certain states are also there, especially scheduled tribes, some customary laws, how it should be taken away, that also need to be looked into. And even Article 25 and 26, that has to be taken some precautionary methods so that this should not conflict each other with Article 44 of the Constitution. So I am very particular that this need to be taken up, and we will initiate our deliberations, debates as early as possible, and we want to see that a uniform civil code that need to come in the country so that it will give a very good impression across the world by the...
Thank you, Shri Raja.
Thank you, sir. My question is related to the last part of the answer, sir. The last part of the answer is, in view of the importance of the subject matter and sensitivity involved, wide consultation with stakeholders would be required for taking further steps in this regard. If consultations lead to consensus, it is well and good. My question to the government or to the minister is, whether government is contemplating to set up some kind of mechanism to initiate the process of consultation. If you have any thinking on this, can you share with the House? This is what government is trying to do. This is the mechanism government is contemplating. Can you share? Because you have said consultation. How this process of consultation will begin? What is the mechanism?
Thank you.
Chairman, sir. Sir, this initiation was not from now onwards. It has started early days, even prior independence also it was there. Even during the British rule, this Caste Disability Removal Act, Child Marriage Act, all those things have been taken into consideration. Even after independence also in 1954 Special Marriages Act, that has come into force because which enables the people of all religion denominations to solemnize marriage as per this law. Even today, I would like to place before the House, this August House, in Goa, there is a uniform civil code which continues, which is called as family law, which is acceptable by all the caste communities there in Goa. Even after the Goa merged with the Indian Union, even today that has been retained and it continues. So I think that on this direction we have to work it out. We should plan for it. Certainly what Raja said is exactly right. What are the modalities that we should discuss? What are the issues that should be taken before the Parliament, in and outside the Parliament? All these things to be clarified, and a clear vision should be given by the government. We are working on it. Certainly we will come before the House with all those.
Thank you, Shri K. Rahman Khan.
Answer says Article 44 of the Directive Principles of the Constitution is Uniform Civil Code is one of the state's duty. I would like to know from the Honorable Minister, there are several directive principles including prohibition. Why the government is not keen in bringing prohibition in the country, only interested in bringing the civil, common civil code? There are several, but this, any directive principle is clashes with the fundamental rights. Has the government first of all studied, because you said scriptures are, there are certain scriptures, for example, what is mentioned in the Quran, it is a fundamental for a Muslim to follow what is mentioned in the Quran, and you cannot change that scripture because that is not possible. It interferes with the Article 25 of the fundamental right to practice the religion. Have the government first made a study? Have the government had come to the any exercise as to what is their intention of uniform civil code before talking about uniform civil code? Is it possible in our country to, with such diversity, to bring uniform civil code? Whether the government has done any exercise on this?
Thank you.
Chairman, sir, for that only I said in my reply, it is a very sensitive issue. Because it is a sensitive issue, a wider consultation need to be taken. I don't want to take you on the judgments of the major judgments with the Sarala Mudgal versus Union of India. There they said that there is the urgency of infusing life into Article 44 of the Constitution, which provides that the states shall endeavor to secure the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. One wonders how long will it take for the government on a day of implement of to implement the mandate of the framers of the Constitution under Article 44 of the Constitution, and even a direction is given by direction in the form of a request is made by the Supreme Court also to implement this. Only thing is we have to work out the modalities. We have to sit across the table. Of course, I do consider, I don't dispute that Article 25 and 26 with regard to our religion and other things. It should not conflict with the Article 44 of this. But at this stage, I don't want to comment anything about the bringing of prohibition and other things. I don't want. But the government, no, yes.
You only selective. Why do you do selective article directive principle? That is also prohibition and also a directive principle.
I am particularly answering an issue with regard to uniform civil code only. Today I am not going beyond these limits. As far as your uniform civil code is concerned, certainly the government is working on it, and we will come with certain issues which will be placed before the public domain. So after detailed discussions and all that, you want to take
Thank you, Chaudhary Munawar Salim.
ये सभापति जी अनुच्छेद 44 के एक हिस्से का तस्करा करके माननीय मंत्री जी एक विवाद खड़ा करना चाहते हैं। देश के बहुत सारे मुद्दे हैं। समान आचार संहिता मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि माननीय मंत्री जी आपने जो भारत के संविधान की मुख्य धारा है जिसमें बाइबिल, गीता, कुरान सबको अहमियत दी गई है, आपकी मंशा इन सब के विपरीत जाती है। आप इसको क्यों प्रधानता देना चाहते हैं आज समान आचार संहिता को?
Chairman sir, I don't dispute the question raised by my friend. Of course, there are certain issues that need to be consulted. I would like to place before the House sir, there are not only as far as this Muslim community is concerned, even in some tribal customs are notified in the tribal areas, which comes under the Schedule 5 and 5th and 6th schedule. So all those things need to be considered and it should be discussed. For that only, right from the beginning, I was telling that there are the issues which immediately the government can't take a decision. The government has to place all these things before the parliament, before the public domain. There should be consultations, wider consultations, I said. After that only, we are going to have uniform civil code. Till then, the matter will be in the public domain.
Thank you. Question 266.
Yes, sir. The statement is
the answer is very disappointing, sir. That is we have offered land and also 50% of the cost of the project was offered by government of Orissa to take up this particular project from Jaipur to Navarangpur. And even in spite of that, the answer says that they are unable to implement it because for want of funds. If that be case, in case of Naxal affected areas, and this forms a part of a program which was initiated in 1934 by British government to link up from Khariyar Road, from there up to Bhadrachalam. That was neglected, and today it has become a Naxalite area. Even then, after our offering 50% of the cost of the project and free land, it is not being considered. Would the minister be able to kindly convince us what is the logic behind it. This is not the first time. All the projects on railways, which we have suggested, government of Orissa has suggested, have been kept in cold storage. And therefore, I would request the minister to give an answer. What is the criteria on which, if it is not backwardness, if it is not an accelerated area, if it is not a project which was hanging for about 60 years, what are the criteria government of India is looking to?
Let the Honorable Minister.
Yeah.
Sir, this particular project has a possible outlay of about 485 crores at 2012-2013 prices. And when the survey was made, it was found that it has a negative rate of return of minus 7.654%. Now, what Honorable Member says, I agree with him fully. That there are certain projects which have been taken up irrespective of finding out the rate of return, which is basically internal rate of return, which is only in terms of finding out how much money we'll get out of the project. But there are issues like Naxalite area. So what happened, as I was mentioning earlier, in the last week, when the Honorable Chief Minister of Orissa met me, I suggested to him, why not we make a special purpose vehicle with Orissa government and government of India, wherein we like to take up projects of this nature, in which I would also request my other sister ministries to participate, because fighting Naxalism has a national priority. So Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Economic Affairs, all of them should join hands in doing that. So therefore, if we can set up a specialized, dedicated entity dealing with these particular projects like this, and Orissa government also participates in it, we like to take it up. So this is the situation.
Thank you. Second question.
Second question is simple, sir. There has been number of proposals given by government of Orissa for expansion of the railway. We are giving 14,000 crores of rupees to the kitty of railways, and not even 6,000 rupees is being given in return for taking up new projects. And therefore, I wanted to know why this injustice. Is there anything beyond the common understanding about why projects are not being taken? Would he be able to? I will request the minister.
Thank you.
See, sir, this is a long list of ongoing projects in Odisha. There are projects which are under implementation, but as I said, and I really would like to repeat the same thing, that to ensure that Odisha feeling that they are not being taken on board as much as they should be, a dedicated organization which is only for Odisha and Government of India, and we are on the final, we are actually started the process of negotiating with the government, would sign an MOU hopefully very soon. And in fact, the Chief Minister was saying that we should try to do it very quickly because he liked the idea I proposed to him. And if this happens, then we'll be able to address the issue in a proper manner.
Mr. Singh Dev.
सर मेरे जान में मंत्री जी रेलवे मिनिस्टर के पास 16 लाख करोड़ के प्रोजेक्ट्स पेंडिंग हैं. जो आया उसने नया प्रोजेक्ट अनाउंस किया और वो आधा कर नहीं पाए. सर कोरापुट Balangir Kalahandi is the poorest area in the country. Besides Koraput Balangir, besides the project mentioned by Mr. Swami, another project is pending for the last 17 years called Khurda Balangir. 17 साल से पेंडिंग है सर, और उसमें कोई काम नहीं हुआ. तो मैं मंत्री से जानना चाहूंगा कि ये काम कब करेंगे. उड़ीसा गवर्नमेंट 50% ऑफ द कॉस्ट बेयर कर रही है, लैंड फ्री दे रही है, तब भी उसमें कोई अग्रगति नहीं हो रही. ये कब करेंगे और कितनी जल्दी होगा बताएं.
सदस्य ने कहा, ये बिल्कुल सही है कि हम लोग अनाउंस करते गए, प्रोजेक्ट्स की संख्या बढ़ती गई. आज करीबन तो अनुमान लगाना भी मुश्किल कितना है, लेकिन 4 से 6 लाख करोड़ तक के प्रोजेक्ट आज वेरियस स्टेज ऑफ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में उसको अनाउंसमेंट किया गया. और वह धन तो पर्याप्त धन सरकार के पास उपलब्ध नहीं, उसकी वजह से हो रहा है. लेकिन मैं सोच रहा हूँ, वापस यही कहना चाहूंगा कि खास ओडिशा के लिए स्पेशल पर्पज व्हीकल बनेगा. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट साथ में काम करेंगे तो शायद ये प्रोजेक्ट जल्दी कंप्लीट होंगे.
श्री भूपेंद्र सिंह.
Specific, sir, KBK, the government of India has recognized as a special zone, special area, 1090 process. It is like special category zone. इसीलिए मैं आपसे निवेदन करता हूं कि ये KBK का ये जो लाइन है, इसको आप कितनी जल्दी से जल्दी करेंगे, क्योंकि हम इसके साथ सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं.
थैंक यू सर, मैं ये भावना को स्वीकृत करता हूं और उसके ऊपर सोच लेंगे.
थैंक यू. Question 266, Third supplementary, Mr. Mahapatra. Yes, but I am afraid question hour is over. Short notice question number 3.
सर, कृषि उत्पादन और मानवीय जरूरियात ये दोनों एक दूसरे के पूरक है। कृषक अपने यहाँ फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल पैदा करते हैं और जब उनके यहाँ उत्पादन ज़्यादा होता है, वैसी स्थिति में मार्केट में उसका भाव गिर जाता है और जब मार्केट में भाव किसान के यहाँ माल जब उत्पादन जब कम होता है, वैसी स्थिति में मार्केट में उसका भाव बढ़ जाता है। फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल इट इज़ पेरिसेबल आइटम। जो फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल पेरिसेबल उत्पादन होने के नाते जब मार्केट में उसका भाव बढ़ जाता है, वैसी स्थिति में भी सर, वैसी स्थिति में भी लोगों में बूम उठती है कि भाव बढ़ गया, तो भी किसानों को भाव नहीं मिलता। और जब किसान के यहाँ उत्पादन ज्यादा हो जाता है, वैसी स्थिति में भी भाव कम मिलता है। मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से वो जानना चाहता हूँ कि क्या आपने कोई ऐसी योजना बनाई है जैसे किसानों को अच्छी तरह से भाव भी मिल सके और मार्केट में चीज वस्तु भी मार्केट में फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल उपलब्ध भी रहे, उनके लिए एक ऐसा मैकेनिज्म आपने कुछ ऐसा तैयार किया है जैसे कि दोनों का हित में काम हो सके?
थैंक यू।
माननीय सभापति जी, इस संबंध में लगातार सबसे बड़ी जो मुख्य बात थी, 2003 में केंद्र सरकार द्वारा एपीएमसी एक्ट में सुझाव दिए गए थे प्रदेश सरकारों को कि इसमें संशोधन किया जाए। उसके संबंध में सन 2010 में एक कमेटी का गठन हुआ था जिसमें 10 एग्रीकल्चर मार्केटिंग के मिनिस्टर्स शामिल थे। उस कमेटी ने अपनी रिपोर्ट 2013 में दी। सभी एडवाइजरी जारी कर दी गई थी प्रदेश सरकारों को, क्योंकि एग्रीकल्चर मार्केटिंग एक प्रदेश सरकार का विषय है, केंद्र सरकार का अकेले विषय नहीं है। उसमें जब प्रदेश सरकारों की तरफ से कोई कार्रवाई नहीं हुई तो माननीय कृषि मंत्री जी द्वारा प्रधानमंत्री को पत्र लिखा गया है कि इसमें एक एक्शन ग्रुप बनाया जाए जिससे प्रदेश सरकारों के साथ बैठकर इस समस्या का निदान दे सके। दूसरी बात इसमें जो महत्वपूर्ण है, लगातार कृषि मंत्रालय की तरफ से नेशनल हॉर्टिकल्चर मिशन के तहत कोल्ड चेन डेवलपमेंट, कोल्ड स्टोरेज के लिए सहायता प्रदेश सरकारों को दी जा रही है। इसके साथ साथ एपीडा जो कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री के तहत है और एक और मिनिस्ट्री फूड प्रोसेसिंग टेक्नोलॉजी भी इस मामले में कोल्ड चेन और कोल्ड स्टोरेज बनाने में प्रदेश सरकारों की मदद करती है।
दूसरा प्रश्न,
ऐसा होता है कि जब फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल किसान पैदा करते हैं और सब्जी मंडी में लेके जाते हैं और सब्जी मंडी के बाद वो छोटे छोटे व्यापारी लेने के बाद वो उपभोक्ता के पास जाएगा। मेरा माननीय मंत्री जी से वो प्रश्न है कि क्या आप किसानों को डायरेक्ट मार्केट मिले और वो अपने यहाँ उत्पादित फ्रूट और वेजिटेबल स्वयं मार्केट में बेच सके और बिचौलिया सिस्टम से वो खत्म हो जाए, उनके लिए भारत सरकार ने कुछ कदम उठाए क्या?
थैंक यू।
माननीय सभापति जी, इस संबंध में कई कदम उठाए गए हैं। करीब 10 प्रदेश सरकारें इस बात पे सहमत हो चुकी है एपीएमसी एक्ट में सुधार के बाद कि फल और सब्जियों को मंडी टैक्स से मुक्त किया जाए और किसानों को सुविधा दी जाए कहीं भी बेच सके। इसी संबंध में कृषि मंत्रालय द्वारा एक मंडी का यहीं पर दिल्ली में भी एपीएमसी एक्ट में इस वर्ष संशोधन किया गया है और एक मंडी जिसमें के किसान खुद अपना किसान मंडी के नाम से किसान अपना माल वहां लाकर बेच सकेंगे और मंडी में किसानों को कोल्ड स्टोरेज वेयर हाउसेस की सुविधाएं दी जाएगी। इसके लिए एफपीओ फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के द्वारा उनको स्थान अलॉट किए जाएंगे।
थैंक यू। श्री बालगोपाल।
For a special mechanism for proper marketing system to provide satisfactory prices to the farmers. Sir, marketing means it is related to the development of products, processing, storage, transportation, etc. of fruits and vegetables. Sir, whether the government is initiating some modern kind of markets, refrigerated marketing, new kind of products and processing of the products, that is basically the question. That answer is not there, sir. And government is saying that, ministry is saying that deregulating the marketing. I want to know, sir, whether there is any regulation about fruits and vegetables marketing in the country. What you mean by deregulating the marketing of agriculture products like fruits and vegetables and what you mean about deregulation about the marketing, that I want to know.
Thank you.
डीरेगुलेटिंग का मतलब बहुत साफ है कि किसान जब आज़ाद मंडी में आता है तो बिचौलिए वहाँ रहते हैं, और मंडी कानून में पहले था कि उनको टैक्स देना है फल सब्जी पर। हमने फल सब्जियों को मंडी कानून से मुक्त, मतलब टैक्स से मुक्त करने के लिए राज्यों से आग्रह किया। अब 12 राज्यों ने इस बात को मान लिया और उनको मुक्त कर दिया। वो अब कहीं भी बेच सकते हैं, मार्केटिंग यार्ड से बाहर कहीं भी बेच सकते हैं। दूसरा, जो जिसकी चर्चा पहले उत्तर में बताया गया कि एक लघु कृषि व्यापार संघ है, और वो किसानों का समूह बनाकर और फिर उस इलाके में मंडी स्थापना के लिए राज्य सरकारों से भी हम बात कर रहे हैं, और इसका एक प्रयोग हमने दिल्ली के अंदर किया है। और अभी तक लगभग 450 ऐसे FPO फार्मर्स प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का गठन हो चुका है, और एक नमूना के तौर पर दिल्ली में प्रारंभ किया गया है किसान मंडी, और हर राज्यों को कहा गया है। इसके लिए हमने बैठक भी बुलाया था जिसमें 20 राज्यों के आए थे अधिकारी और राज्य मंत्री भी आए थे, और राज्यों को भी हम इसमें मदद करने के लिए तैयार हैं, और मंडी कानून से मुक्त कर सीधे मार्केट में उनको ले जाने के लिए, ताकि बिचौलिया इसमें ना आए।
श्रीमती रजनी पाटिल।
ग्राहक तक जब माल आता है, सब्जी या फल, तो 35% नुकसान उसमें हो जाता है। और ये बहुत विरोधाभास है कि हम चप्पल और जूते लेने के लिए जाते हैं तो वो AC के शोरूम में मिलते हैं, लेकिन सब्जियां और फल ये हमें नदी के किनारे, किसी नाले के किनारे रास्ते पे धूल खाते हुए मिलते हैं और वो लेने पड़ते हैं। क्या कृषि मंत्रालय ने ऐसी कोई योजना की है कि जो बिचौलियों को दूर करके डायरेक्ट कोई मॉल स्पेसिफिकली फॉर सब्जीज एंड फ्रूट्स के लिए ऐसा कोई मॉल या विपणन व्यवस्था स्पेशली की जाए?
फल और सब्जी को गोदाम में या मॉल में दो विषय आपका, एक तो किसान को ठीक से दाम मिले, उसकी चर्चा उत्तर हमने पहले दिया है। अब जहाँ तक स्टोरेज का सवाल है कि स्टोरेज के लिए हम आपके ध्यान में लाना चाहते हैं कि कोल्ड चेन बड़े पैमाने पर देश में शुरू किए गए हैं, और कोल्ड स्टोरेज तक का जहाँ तक सवाल है, ये आपको 2.5 करोड़ क्षमता का कोल्ड स्टोरेज का निर्माण 2009 तक हुआ था, और अभी 9 के बाद से अभी तक 3 करोड़ 18 लाख मीट्रिक टन क्षमता के कोल्ड स्टोरेज का निर्माण हो चुका है, और कोल्ड चेन के माध्यम से इस गति को और हम तेज कर रहे हैं।
थैंक यू श्री पी राजीव।
Thank you, sir. Actually, the question is sought to ensure the satisfactory price for fruits and vegetables. But, sir, most of the fruits, apple, mango, everything were imported from different countries. And our government has entered into free trade agreement with different countries. Now, the government is going to sign the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. Then, my question is, whether the government has conducted any specific review of the free trade agreement with different countries, the impact on the price of fruits and other agricultural products. If so, what are the findings?
देखिए, इस बीच में कई देशों के साथ हमारी बातें हुई हैं, कई नए समझौते भी हुए हैं, और एक जो इसमें सबसे ज़्यादा दिक्कत था जी आम का, जो हम निर्यात करते थे, जो वर्षों से बंद पड़ा हुआ है यूके के अंदर। तो उसके लिए 2-3 बार हमारी बैठक हो चुकी है, और जो मानक उन्होंने बताया था लगभग उसको भी हम तैयार कर लिए हैं, और मुझको उम्मीद है कि निकट भविष्य में हमारा वो निर्यात भी शुरू हो जाएगा।
Conducted in a review on this free trade agreement. Very specific question, not a question on mango.
Thank you.
My question, free trade agreement.
Thank you.
I want your secret protection, sir. I want a specific answer for that. Whether the government has conducted any review on the free trade agreement, specifically on the impact of the price of foods and other agricultural products. If so, what are the details? This is my question. I am not asking any question on the mango, other things.
Is this the appropriate ministry for answering this question?
माननीय सभापति जी, मैं यही कहना चाहता हूँ माननीय सदस्य को कि फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट ऐसा नहीं है कि ज़्यादातर फल और सब्जियों पे इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी हम लगाते हैं अगर हमारे यहाँ आती है। सुनिए, लेकिन चूंकि एग्रीकल्चर का इंपोर्ट और एक्सपोर्ट डायरेक्ट एपिडा के थ्रू है, जो कि कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री के तहत है, तो ज्यादातर फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री के थ्रू होते हैं, ये आप अच्छी तरह जानते हैं। लेकिन चूंकि अगर
Thank you. No discussion on this, please. House is adjourned till 2:30 p.m.